Welcome one and all to another Luke Fruia show. Talking Sports here at Luke Fruia Motors. I'm Jacob Young. This is Rio Sports Live Network, RSLN. And while it's going to be an interesting show. There's a lot to cover here today, to be exact, from the RGV Red Crowns, all of their new signings, to somebody very special from the Brownsville area that is coming back home. And then, of course, like I mentioned, we'll get into that. We'll talk UTRGV baseball. Of course, there's new news out of UTRGV for even their basketball program, as well as, of course, we'll talk about what is coming up on tap for RSLN this weekend, because also there are some games tonight that will be played. The reason being for Friday, or the reason being, of course, last night, most of the upper valley, or most of the lower valley games, I should say, were canceled, were postponed till today. Shockingly, none of the upper valley games were postponed as well, just due to the fact, well, in the upper valley, it didn't necessarily rain too much. So I ended up being at Edinburgh Economies, taking on Westaco High School in Edinburgh. So that was interesting. That was, of course, nice to cover because, well, due to the fact of the matter that it was sunny at that time, or not necessarily sunny, but it did not end up raining later. It did rain earlier in that day around the Edinburgh area. I'm sure that there was a lot of rain that was also from the lower valley, and that's the reason why they postponed everything till today for those games. Of course, like I mentioned, there's a lot to talk about. There's also some playoff games that will most likely be happening on RSLN. I don't think that they have officially been put on the schedule just yet because we're still waiting on approval from the UIL to get the rights officially cleared, to be exact, for it. That's the process, of course. You submit and potentially get the rights with the money that you pay for all of it. So very exciting once again here, as we had one baseball game yesterday. We have baseball today, 1 p.m. actually, for the SJA and Victoria St. Joseph Academy game that's happening right now. And the Brownsville, or check that, the Los Fresnos and Harlingen High game, that will be at 6:30 p.m. Then 7 p.m. is Brownsville Rivera and Westaco East High School. Then Thursday, there is a baseball game at 7 p.m. Rio Hondo taking on Raymondville. That will be a fun one to basically have on tap for you all, because very exciting once again. Now, of course, as we mentioned before, it will trickle down to another or potentially a lot more games for the series of softball, for the softball playoffs. We, of course, check the social media page for all of those games as we get closer and closer to being able to cover those. Most likely they will get approved, but we have to wait basically until the official wording. I have not gotten the official word myself, so we're technically right now, in my eyes, in the waiting game. Not that big of a deal at all, in the slightest. That's on Thursday, of course. If the series were to happen, it would be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for potential Game 3, if necessary, for most of those series. Some may do it Friday for Game 1 in the evening, and then Saturday for Game 2, and if necessary, a Game 3 Saturday evening. So very exciting, like we mentioned. That's what is coming up for RSLN. UTRGV baseball, they're playing right now in their Game 2 against Arkansas Little Rock, as they dropped their first game last night against Arkansas Little Rock 5-4. We'll, of course, like I mentioned, talk more about it. Now, this is very exciting as we get to it. RGV Red Crowns news. What is the RGV Red Crowns news for basically the RGV? Well, they've officially, of course, announced more players since the last time that we spoke. And we'll jump right into it. As of 9:56 a.m. Monday morning, the RGV Red Crowns the night before had sort of necessarily, they had teased some news that was going to happen at 9:56 a.m. My guess was that, yes, it was going to be a player, and yes, it was most likely going to be a former RGVFC Toros player. I kind of thought that that's what they were kind of aiming towards for the announcement. And my guess was still on Tyler Derrick. I still go back to saying that because another goalkeeper, another kind of goalkeeping coach to help out JC Alvarez. That was always my thought. Is okay, they're going to bring someone in like that, just like they did last year with Jack Crichton. That really, I believe, in my eyes, helped JC Alvarez even get better for the season ahead in August for his soccer season with his college that he plays for. Well, I was a bit wrong, but not too far off. So the video was great. If you want to watch it, it's on the RGV Red Crown's social media page. But the first thing that it pans to is, I believe it's an Amazon driver or something with a package. And it starts at Brownsville Rivetta High School. And then it goes to a couple of different places, one of them being former HEB Park. Which, again, I will say former HEB Park here because it has a lot to do with the RGVFC Toros. That's what it was called at that time. So, still not there. It actually, before that, went to UTRGV. So, the places so far, if you're picking up and you don't know the news yet, it was Rivetta High School, then it went to UTRGV, and then after UTRGV went to HEB, former HEB Park, and then someone that pulls up in, I believe, a Cadillac or something like that, gets the package, and all of a sudden it pans to who picked up the package. Isidro Martinez, a.k.a. Cello. Fantastic. What a signing indeed, in general, for the RGV Red Crowns being able to get that signing. There were hints throughout, of course, this offseason that there was going to be major signings, that there was going to be potentially a former RGVFC Toros player in the works for everything. And sure enough, that's who they ended up signing. Isidro Martinez, if anybody knows, he played for the RGVFC Toros. He's been a USL championship player for years and years. Isidro Martinez is a special soccer player in my eyes. So really, of course, the overview before we get into everything like this. You know, born in Brownsville, Texas, 5'8", plays in the midfield. And his team for a while was Union Omaha. Of course, that team unfortunately went under. But after, of course, graduating from Brownsville Rivera High School, he was able to continue his career from 2015 to 2018 at UTRGV, playing for the UT Rio Grande Valley Vaqueros soccer team for college. And his senior career then quickly in 2018 goes to Tormenta FC, the South Georgia Tormenta to be exact. 12 appearances with no goals in his first year in 2018. But this is where things got very interesting. 2019 to 2020. Here comes Isidro Martinez. And was able to play for the RGVFC Toros. And was a phenomenal player when he was able to score goals. Remember, that was a dangerous team at the time, too. You're talking about having Cello. You're talking about having so many outlets in on goal at most from Chuy Enriquez, too. It was a very, very impressive team. And I was very happy about it throughout those years. 2019, 2020, he had 48 appearances with, don't believe that's true, with 1 goal. So he was a midfielder, like I mentioned. He was still very impactful for this team. And then, of course, New Mexico United in 2021 with 30 appearances. And then he came back. This is what I missed. I remember now. He came back after the 1 year at New Mexico United to the RGVFC Toros in 2022, where he made 33 appearances and was a playmaker. He never was that person who would score goals, but he was a playmaker in general and really helped benefit the team consistently. And that was a big thing. 2023, because at this point, the RGV FC Toros were kind of going down and potentially not getting kicked out of the league, but their owner seemed to have enough. And sure enough, Isidro Martinez moves to Fort Madison FC for 26 appearances with 1 goal once again. And then Northern Colorado Hailstorm in 2024 with 20 appearances and a goal. And then he goes to Union Omaha with 25 appearances and a goal. And after that, that team goes under that team folds in the USL. And so what happens to him is really there was nothing even on the transfer market that showed that he was doing anything after the fact. And so this was big, is that he has truly been away from working, from playing soccer. And so it's interesting because, like we said, he's a central midfielder, and nothing more to really say or talk about for this player, because at this point, really without a club from 24 to 25, and then Union Omaha during that time, and he didn't have a professional club throughout this soccer season. So he kind of missed that opportunity to join a team, and this is where this signing is happening. And so it's a massive get because this is a senior player that has been through playoffs, has been through hardship, has been through the U.S. Open Cup, has been through all of this, which, by the way, if I didn't bring it up before, I'm bringing it up now. The RGV Red Crowns Soccer Club are officially qualifying for the U.S. Open Cup. U.S. Open Cup is a lot like the FA Cup in a way. The qualification's kind of the same, as in a ton of teams start off, and really, when you know that you've qualified is when you're in the top 30, or when you're in the final 32. And so that's kind of how I think of it. And so they're going to try and qualify for the U.S. Open Cup, which is a big thing this season, and I'm very excited for that for them. So the season is going to continue even after after the after the League for Clubs season is kind of done and dusted, because it starts up almost immediately. The champion's going to be crowned for the U.S. Open Cup not too soon from now. And so that's exciting. They're already, I believe, in the quarterfinals or close to the semifinals very soon with the games that will be played. Like I mentioned, this is a man who has had a stellar career in general, starting with the UTRGV Vaqueros, like I mentioned, in 2015 to 17-18 Tormenta FC, and then going to check that actually went back to transfer market's a little confusing there because it's saying that he was, still at. So, Tormenta FC with, of course, the UTRGV Vaqueros for that final year before moving on to the RGVFC Toros, and then going to New Mexico United in 2020 and 21, and then going back to the RGVFC Toros in 21-22. Was without a club in 22-23 due to the fact of when the team officially closed their doors, it was very messy. And it left players, it left teams without clubs. Then, 03-20, 2023, he went to Ford Madison. And then in 23-24, of course, like we mentioned, Hailstorm FC, and without a club in 24-25, Ford Union Omaha, and now will be in RGV Red Crown. Will be a part of the nest. Very exciting for that signing. We've been talking about it a lot. There's nothing really much more to say on the matter of this is a signing that he is a veteran player. We don't know his condition at the moment, meaning, of course, is he truly in shape for this season coming up? All of that will be answered in 2 weeks' time, at least. So, again, I'm looking forward to it. This is one key player out of 11 starters that we're slowly but surely starting to see what will most likely be the starting 11 come the 16th, come the week of that for the season opener. And again, it favors the RGV Red Crowns with all these players coming back. That's what I'm looking forward to. Here's the thing. We're going to try to get Isidro Martinez on the show next week. That's a fact. That's a known fact because of the fact of, well, he deserves to be interviewed to see what he's been doing since, of course, the end of the Toros. And just, of course, his career in general is a special one because, again, fighting for a state championship, he's one of those players. And truly made it because he made it to a D1 soccer school. It happened to be in UTRGV. He happened to have an opportunity at a USL championship club and took full advantage of it because he impressed a lot of teams to the point of where he got to play for New Mexico United, a team that is left and right in the hunt for the most part in the USL. He's going back to a former baseball stadium to play at, and that's going to be exciting in general. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we will stick with RGVFC, with the RGV Red Crowns news, because there are still a couple of players that need to be talked about because we have to inform you all on the official last couple of signings that have been signed so far. There's still going to be players that will most likely be announced at a later date, closer and closer to this season, because it's not done just yet. We'll be right back after this. I'm Jacob Young. This is Rio Sports Live Network. Stay tuned.
Turn your passion into a powerful career at Texas Southmost College. Our automotive technology program will train you in everything from maintenance to full vehicle systems repair. Earn a certificate or associate degree and get certified to work as a C maintenance or B-level technician. You'll be guided by seasoned instructors who have decades of real-world automotive experience, helping you get ready to roll into the industry. So take the wheel and apply today at tsc.edu.
Time to take a new look, and maybe your first look at Buick. If smart, hip, and affordable is for you, Buick's your brand. Fruia Buick, Brownsville, Texas.
No importa en cuál etapa de tu vida te encuentres, Texas Southmost College está aquí para ayudarte a progresar. Ya sea que estés empezando desde cero, cambiando de carrera o adquiriendo nuevas habilidades, TSC tiene programas accesibles diseñados para adaptarse a tus metas. Es hora de dar el siguiente paso. Piensa en grande, piensa claramente, piensa en TSC.
I fell on a loose towel at the grocery store, and now they're saying it's my fault. Do you think you could help?
Of course I can help. You should be focused on feeling better.
Oh, thank you, Law Champ. Hey, do you think I can get a selfie?
Of course.
This is the island where even the grown-ups forget what day it is. South Padre is more than an island. It's the island.
Rev up your future with Texas Southmost College's Auto Body Repair Program. In just 2 semesters, you'll gain the skills to become an auto body repair specialist. Learn using industry-standard iCar Academy to get you job-ready fast. If you're ready to drive your career forward, TSC's Auto Body Repair Program is the place to start. Classes are filling fast, so visit tsc.edu and apply today.
Back live we go once again to hear from none other than Luke Fruia, Buick GMC and Cadillac. If you're in the market for a new car, come check out Luke Fruia, Buick C and, well, Cadillac. Buick GMC and Cadillac. Well, getting back into this now, of course, we have some more players to talk about, and that's going to be one of the groups of players is Kenneth Reyes, Kevin Zamora, and Era Vera. They've officially come back for the RGV Red Crowns Soccer Club, which this is very, very impressive in general. So these 3 players right off the bat, in my eyes, are very big for this team. Era Vera, of course, he was a great defender in my eyes, just due to the fact of how he was able to play well in general. And so with Kevin Zamora, of course, coming back into the line of, well, he is a center back. Kenneth Reyes, of course, out of Texas Southmost College from McAllen, Texas. This is a good player in general. Now, of course, for Our Lady of the Lake University, the striker out of Brownsville, Texas, Kevin Zamora, this is another player that can do really well with, of course, a super sub-like role, potentially. Now, he could be on the front line with none other than Vicente Alvarez. We don't know just yet how this lineup is going to look, but it is very promising to see that he's coming back. I really do like this signing in general for Kevin Zamora. And then, of course, you go back, like I mentioned, for Era Vera, that defensive side of things. It looks fantastic. It looks phenomenal for himself in general to see how it all will play out. Now we go back to it. Era Vera, of course, the center back from Brownsville, Texas, UTRGV. He's only going to improve. He has a lot of opportunities to improve this season, and we will be looking very good in general. Now, of course, returning Rene Galvan Jr., Sergio Davila, and Diego Vita. These were another 3 players that we get to see return once again. Rene Galvan Jr. I talked about this, of course, on my Instagram, but this is a big, this is a platform to be able to talk about it. And I got to talk about this with, of course, down in the RGV, down in La Valley Soccer, because there's a lot of things that, of course, we like to talk about. And, of course, covering that team this season with the club is always great. But getting to see this player back again, Rene Galvan Jr., the central attacking midfielder out of Edinburgh, Texas, this is going to be interesting because kind of in that same position in the midfield, you will have, once again, Isidro Martinez, Cello. So, again, having a player like that. Now, last year, granted, the whole entire team got to play with some of these players like that. We're talking about Zach Hargreaves for one player who was a standalone, awesome penalty kick taker, but was a leader. He's been around, of course, not necessarily this league particularly, but he was around the MPSL. He was around a lot of those teams out of Savannah, Georgia, to be exact, and played in England. So that was big in general. Given that, with the central attacking midfielder out of Edinburgh, Texas, UTRGV, Rene Galvan Jr. has a lot to prove this season. This could potentially be his breakout season. Again, that's a lot of players and a lot of teams would say, okay, this could potentially be a sophomore slump for this this side? I don't necessarily think so, because just the way that this team has evolved in general. Again, I go back to Vicente Alvarez. He's gotten to play positive minutes with professional teams that were in the academy or in the pipeline of potentially Pachuca, for example, and the pipeline of other clubs like that with academies. That's a big thing, and that's a good step. Now for Rene Galvan Jr., I didn't get to see any of the UTRGV soccer matches this past season, but what I can say is returning under the same head coach, returning under a lot of the same players, that only keeps the chemistry up and that only keeps the momentum showing from the end of last year. The RGV Red Crowns SC at the end of the season played against FC Dallas, their U23s. And with the U23s, this was cool. This was awesome. This was epic. The U23s was, well, it was a friendly, but it was so epic to get to watch some of these players get to finish off their season with the RGV Red Crowns. And if I had to guess, one of them was actually Rene Galvan Jr. And the point is, there's a lot of momentum with this side. There's a lot of momentum with this team where they can have a lot of breakout seasons. They can have a lot of breakout times this year. There's about 6 home matches, and it's just going to be momentum with an opportunity to play and get that victory. Or not necessarily get the victory, but just make it to the conference tournament. So much, because it's divided into 2, so you'll play against both of those sides in a little playoff to see who will be the champion to play against in the nationals. That's kind of what it is. It's regionals and it's nationals for this league in general, besides the U.S. Open Cup qualifiers. That will be coming up very, very soon. So again, looking forward to these 6, check that. Looking forward to these 7 players that have officially been announced since the last time that we spoke this past Wednesday, because it should be very exciting. We're going to take a break. When we return, we will shift gears, and we will go into talking about UTRGV athletics. There's a lot to talk about for UTRGV athletics, even from the basketball side, but we will be talking mainly about baseball, because it's time to really break down close to the end of that season before we head into our playoff talk for RGV softball, because I know that some of you all will be wanting to hear about that. I'm Jacob Young. This is Rio Sports Live Network, RSLN. We'll be right back after this. Stay tuned.
Kenny Perez came from a small town in Texas. At Kenny Perez Law, we won't stop fighting until our clients get what's rightfully theirs. We're right by your side, no matter what. Call Kenny Perez Injury Lawyers today, 956-999-1111.
At Tortilleria Ibañez, flavor starts fresh every day. Crispy flautas, homemade tamales, and our signature chicken salad, all made for you. Tortilleria Ibañez, tradition on every plate.
The standard of excellence has always been Cadillac, so be iconic and drive one. Fruia Cadillac, Brownsville, Texas.
It means a lot to me. TSC has changed me to make me realize that I can accomplish things. Just don't give up. long way from where I was to what I am now, and there's no limit to where I'm going.
Back we go once again here from none other than Luke Fruia, Buick GMC, and Cadillac. This is going to be, well, again, an exciting show. If you're in the market for a new car, though, come check them out. I'm Jacob Young. This is Rio Sports Live Network, RSLN. We mentioned that we would move on to talking a little bit more about, well, UTRGV athletics. Let's start off with the breaking news that happened today. And this was pretty interesting, to say the least, because, well, it's breaking news again for UTRGV basketball, UTRGV men's basketball. Transfer portal also closing here momentarily as well. I believe it closes at the end of today, to be exact, for both men's and women's, or maybe the women's closed yesterday and the men's closes today. I'm not entirely sure. I just keep on getting notifications that players are coming back and all of this. So this was exciting. And then, of course, coaching carousel continues. UTRGV men's basketball, though, they've officially gotten their head coach. They've officially gotten 2 assistant coaches, which will help them out in general. This is a big one, though. The third coach in general isn't necessarily a coach, but they announced this here today, which was a big thing and for UTRGV men's basketball. They've officially gotten John Jones, the director of basketball operations. And this was, of course, 4 hours ago that it was announced. So, John Jones for UTRGV men's basketball. He will be the director of basketball operations, meaning, of course, really I'll let UTRGV, of course, explain it to you all off of this article from themselves, to be exact. The University of Texas Rio Grande Valley UTRGV head men's basketball coach Brandon Chambers announced on Wednesday the hiring of John Jones, who spent the last 3 seasons as an assistant coach at Texas Southern University as director of basketball operations. Jones helped the Tigers to 10 Southwestern Athletic Conference (SWAC) wins the last season, marking the 3rd straight year of more than 10 conference wins. So, already showing that he can really do wonders for the team. Jones helped Texas Southern to 25 home wins, making the HMPE Arena a tough place to play. And then John Jones said, I'm excited to, or basically, I believe that was by Coach Chambers. Yes, I'm excited to welcome John Jones to our staff and to the RGV. Chambers said, I had the opportunity to coach John at the University of Nevada and Texas Southern University, as well as work alongside him at Texas Southern. And his impact on winning was immediately apparent. John brings tremendous energy and passion to everything he does, which will make him an outstanding addition to our program in the Valley. John's fingerprints will be on every pillar of our program and will be an integral part to our success moving forward. So this is a big, big signing in general. Like we mentioned, the director of basketball operations is a big success. And so, just looking forward to that. There's nothing really much else to say about it besides this is a good signing for UTRGV men's basketball. And it's funny. It's interesting, of course, to say because, yes, every single mid-major program will lose players to the transfer portal now. That's just a given. That's just a fact, a known fact. And the key is, how do you rebound from that? No pun intended, but it's very true. How do you come back from that? Losing key parts of your offense and defense to the transfer portal. UTRGV have been able to answer that question with answers of hiring head coaches after they've lost head coaches to closer Division I schools, not necessarily, or closer Power Fives, not necessarily Power Fives, but again, Western Michigan, that's to the MAC. That's a big jump from the Southland Conference. It's just the truth. Because in general, I always look at it this way. What conferences not only have football programs, but if they have football programs, or are they playing FBS football, or are they playing FCS football? So that is how I look at it. It's the Southland Conference. They're in FCS football. The MAC, they're in D1 FBS. So in general, they'll earn more money than other teams that are around them. And so their athletic departments might be a little bit better. And so Finnell, of course, going over there, they lost key head coach. They lost key, assistant coaches and all of that. They looked, UTRGV looked, and were able to sign key players right off the bat. So that's awesome. That is epic. Because I'm looking forward to that. And of course, losing players to the transfer portal over money is going to be normal. Corey Cotton officially signs DePaul up in Chicago. So that was a big win for DePaul in general, getting a key player like that. A couple of other players actually left and transferred. And then UTRGV has actually been able to sign a couple of players themselves. So that is a perfect opportunity for UTRGV men's basketball to be successful. There's still a long ways to go in this offseason. But, of course, as the transfer portal closes, then you start to look at right at the end of the season, if they have not already, were the recruits enough for them to get those influx of all those players? How is this team going to be built? And should be fun and should be exciting. So we'll look forward to it all. Coming up here very, very soon. Moving on from the basketball talk, though, we go to the baseball talk, UTRGV baseball. They're in an interesting situation, sitting around 5th place in the Southland Conference standings. And with UTRGV in that situation, looking it's just interesting, to say the least. It's nothing more than that. Because UTRGV are under 500. After, I believe, last night went 18-21, if not 18 and 22 overall. Right now, today, they find themselves down against Arkansas Little Rock, 9-7. It was in the top of the third, or the top of the fourth when I last checked. UTRGV had just gotten out of a jam of a bases loaded. Again, on the road against an OVC opponent, which is Arkansas Little Rock. And this is very interesting, to say the least. So, UTRGV baseball, they dropped some games, they dropped some series that they should have won. Let's be very real on this. Yes, 18-22 overall on a one-game losing streak. And again, this is a team that should have won a couple more series than they have. Struggled throughout this season already. It's a lot different. It's a much different team than last year. Of course, battling injuries a little bit left and right. The UTRGV Vaqueros started off the season beating Kansas in the first game 7-4, losing against Kansas in game 2 on Saturday, February 14th, and then lost 8-7 against Kansas. On the or at home, had an opportunity to win that series. Would have been a massive series victory for an RPI booster right off the start of the season, but just could not get the job done. Scary time. And then UTRGV all of a sudden, their bats started to get going. Scored 12 runs against Texas Tech and lost 21-12. Lost 11-3 at Houston, and then won 10-6 at Houston and won 8-4 at Houston. This is where things felt like the tide was going to turn, and this was a team that, okay, could definitely beat big teams and potentially can go back to winning the conference regular season like they did last year, at least a share of the conference regular season. Then 14-0 happened against number 3 Texas. To be fair, that's the Texas Longhorns. They have been very successful. The SEC is still, in my eyes, the toughest, and I mean it, the toughest conference in baseball. And then Lamar University were the opening games for conference play. UTRGV lost 6-2, 1-0, and 2-1 on the road, getting swept right off the bat in conference play, which felt like a couple of those games. Yes, it was pitchers' duels, but if their bats just get going just a little bit, they can get the job done and potentially a series victory. Then defeated Texas Southern University 5-3 and 10-4. An important series victory and then an important series win against New Orleans. Won 10-0, 8-6, lost 13-6. Lost 11-7 against Louisiana. And then won 2-1 in 10 against Nichols at Nichols. Won 11-7 at Nichols and won 7-4 at Nichols for a sweep. A massive, massive series win. We go back to just the series winning 10-7, 17-10, and 16-5 in 8 innings against Houston Christian at Houston Christian, sweeping them in 3. Then came back home, and this is where things kind of took a turn for the worst. 9-6 loss against the Islanders, Texas A&M Corpus Christi. 5-1 victory against Texas A&M Corpus Christi at home on Swifties night. And then versus Texas A&M Corpus Christi, lost 5-2. Was an unfortunate loss and an unfortunate series loss at home for UTRGV, something that they really at that point did not need to drop a series like that, considering where Texas A&M Corpus Christi are at the moment. They're below them, if I'm not mistaken, in the conference standings, just due to the records in conference play. Then got swept against Northwestern State at home, which was very, very unfortunate. They had a chance to play against Houston Christian University. That one got rained out the Monday after Easter weekend. Then at Stephen F. Austin, could not get their bats going. 7-2 loss, 5-3 loss, 9-3 victory. This is where, once again, you could feel the tide start to turn just a little bit. Sam Houston State University lost to UTRGV. UTRGV won in 10, 8-5 on that Tuesday night. And then some may say it was the biggest series in UTRGV history for the Vaqueros in conference play. The first game of the series against Southeastern Louisiana University that Friday night. ESPNU had the coverage of that game. They flew in actual announcers to cover that game live instead of making it maybe a virtual trip or something like that, where they do with a lot of college games, by the way. They actually had 2 announcers there legitimately. And sold out crowd, 6,400 people in attendance, which shockingly, that was only their 3rd largest attendance ever in school history at that place. And Southeastern Louisiana was game 1 victory. Was a game 1 victory, to be exact, 8-6. 11-6 loss in game number 2, where UTRGV struggled in that first inning, where a lot of their problems have been the early innings, where they've lost their games, unfortunately. This happened to be a doubleheader, by the way, too, because of inclement weather that next day, which ended up happening. It rained all day on that Sunday, to be exact. So it was a perfect doubleheader, to be exact. And yeah, April 18th for both of those games. It's just 11-6, an unfortunate loss, and then 10-1 victory for the UTRGV Vaqueros. They left the door open with an opportunity for SLU to try to come back late in the game instead of closing it out early and around the 8th inning to score 11 runs. But a fantastic bounce back from where they were literally half an hour ago before that game. Was, an 11-6 loss where they cut the lead down to 9-6, but just could not score anything in the bottom of the ninth and went on to win the series, best 2 out of 3, which was good for the team because they needed at least a 2 out of 3 series victory against one of the number 1 teams in conference play. And then, of course, lost 5-4 last night against Arkansas Little Rock. Here's the big thing. Now, for myself at least, I don't care about non-conference games for UTRGV and the Vaqueros. The reason being, there are 6 conference games left. And they are winnable. All 6 of them are winnable. It's against teams that are struggling, like McNeese. McNeese State are struggling, and all 3 of those are at McNeese, but they have a chance to beat McNeese in the end. At Oregon State, they could probably lose against number 6 Oregon State. They will most likely lose against number 6 Oregon State. Now, if they can win one of those games, you'd be shocked. I would be shocked too. I'm going to be very excited if they do defeat Oregon State in one of those games. And then versus UIW to finish off their season in conference, their conference season at home. May the 1st and 2nd and 3rd will be at home. That'll be exciting. May 5th is at ACU. May 8th, Friday, at Tarleton State. May 9th, Saturday at Tarleton State, and Tarleton State once again. Those are non-conference games. UTRGV have no shot at, even if they were to win all those games, at getting an at-large bid into a region. That's just the fact. Where they're ranked in the RPI is around 115th. It's not horrible, but it's not amazing in the slightest. To be fair, SLU's not that much better with 86 in the RPI standings. So, with that being said, and then bracket play, of course, the first round is on May 14th, 1 to 6 p.m. Now, I'm saying all this due to one fact and one fact only. For the Southland Conference, we will break it down here for the baseball standings. It's very, 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 very simple. UTRGV, if they were to win 6 of those games in conference play, they're 12-12 right now in conference. If they win 6 of those games, they would be 18-12. Lamar are 14-7. Lamar will probably most likely get at least a series victory. So we're talking 2 wins, possibly 2 series victories, and maybe 4 wins. So there they would be at 18-7. Southeastern, Louisiana will most likely get at least a series victory too. They're 13-8 right now. My whole point to all of this is UTRGV find themselves behind SFA, Stephen F. Foster, in 6th place in the conference standings. Most likely 1 or 2 of those teams will struggle in this final push at the end of the season. There is a chance UTRGV will be 4th in conference play come the tournament time. I don't expect anything more, and I shouldn't expect anything less because those 6 games are winnable. UTRGV, it's simple. Have to focus on conference, have to focus on winning those, if they even want a chance with the conference standings. So, exciting. And I'm looking forward to it once again. Looking forward to being there for their final home series. It's been so much fun with going to those games. It was so much fun going to the basketball games too. This is there. You can definitely feel the change in the air for just UTRGV athletics in general. Big things are happening outside of football, and I do truly believe it is because of the football team. The baseball team finally getting the recognition that they deserve. The basketball team will, hopefully. I would like to next season see a sold out UTRGV field house for one of the games, one of the biggest games of the season. I'd like to see that. But that's just me. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we will show you all the softball playoff games coming up this weekend around the RGV. And then from there, we will wrap up this show. I'm Jacob Young. This is Real Sports Live Network. We'll take one quick break. We'll be right back after this.
That becomes a hit. And that's going to be a fumble recovered by the Cardinals.
100 years ago, in the heart of the Rio Grande Valley, a spark was born. From the first dreamers who stepped onto these grounds, Texas Southmost College has stood as a promise that determination can overcome any challenge. Join us as we honor our past, celebrate our present, and ignite the future together. Texas Southmost College, 100 years strong, and the next 100 begin with you.
If you've been in a car crash, call Kenny. We're available to take your call 24/7, and we don't charge a fee unless we win your case. When you're in a car crash, call Kenny. Call 999-1111 now for a free consultation.
Permatemp Personnel Services has been servicing local businesses for the past 29 years. Leave the hiring to us. Let us become your personal hiring guru. We have a network of skilled employees to fit your needs.
Your success is our strategy.
Don't hesitate, call us now.
No matter where you are in life, Texas Southmost College is here to help you move forward. Whether you're starting fresh, changing careers, or gaining new skills, TSC has affordable programs designed to fit your goals. It's time to take the next step. Think big. Think bright. Think TSC.
Back we go once again here. I'm Jacob Young. This is Real Sports Live Network, RSLN. And, well, of course, like we mentioned, we'll get to you quickly with, of course, the softball playoff games that are not necessarily coming up, but are coming up. Not necessarily that could be coming up on RSLN, but, of course, that are coming up just around the valley in general. Let's start off with, of course, 5A. And this is where, of course, Cherryline Pioneer and Ed Cautelsa happen to be, and Veterans Memorial and Rouse and all of those teams. Corpus Christi Carroll are taking on Roma. That is in 30 versus 29, 5A. That's in the bi-district for their series. Pioneer Ed Cautelsa, that's 31 versus 30. Check that, 31 versus 32. Veterans Memorial versus San Antonio versus Leander Rouse. Check that. That is very interesting for already Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial having to play against a Leander Rouse school in the first round. Just to get to that second round, Rio Grande City getting to play against Corpus Christi Moody in the first round. Pace will take on McAllen High School in the bi-district round of things. That is, of course, I believe, Division 2. So that's something to be interested about there because it's Division 2. That means that Division 1, if you were to look at Division 1 here very, very quickly, it's looking like that's where PSJ North happened to stand with Edinburgh Vela. So we'll take a look at that very quickly. They will be playing against Wesco East High School. That Wesco East High School team, they are a dangerous team in general. So that's right off the bat of the first round. Could go into 3. Will most likely go into 3. Be prepared for that matchup to go into 3 in my eyes. They're in the Melissa sort of, not region, but they're in the where Melissa is, which is Division 1 like we mentioned. So that's a team, of course, that are known to go far normally in softball. Let's go back down to where, of course, all these teams, Old Victoria West playing against Milwaukee. So that's something to look at. Leander and New Braunfels will play in that first round as well. Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial will play against Mission High School. So that is their first round series. PSJ San Juan Alamo North versus, Far San Juan Alamo North versus Wesco East. That's a first round. That is, of course, where it will be played. Whoever wins that will most likely play against Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial. But hopefully, of course, we see a swoop in and a bit of an upset where Mission High School will pull a victory, not only a victory, but a series victory out against Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial, potentially in 3. That would be fun to see. Smithson Valley and Hayes will be playing at Buda Hayes High School, to be exact, in South San Antonio and Highlands. This is not an easy Division 1, to say the least. Harlingen South High School and Edinburgh Vella will play against each other in the bi-district round, with Flower Bluff and Palmview High School. So those are your bi-district. Whoever wins that will go off to the area round. Will most likely actually be, I would say, Flower Bluff and Harlingen South. They've met up in the first round a lot too, or in the second round, check that a lot. So that's always fun, of course, to witness. I'm looking forward to all of these games coming up here soon in the first round of play for softball. That's just in the 5A region alone. The 6A region, like, let's say, of course, for Harlingen, a high school or Harlingen, high softball. Let's give you a look, of course, at themselves, or let's give you a look basically at around that region. They will face off against Wesco High School on Thursday. That is a big softball game in general. And for bi-district, once again, interesting to say. So we'll go all the way down to where all the schools are in the region: Wesco High School and Harlingen High School, Del Rio and East Central, Bowie and Round Rock, Westwood, Brennan and Reagan, Alexander and Johnson. San Benito versus Edinburgh North. Could play against Alexander or San Antonio Johnson. Laredo Alexander or San Antonio Johnson in the second round, in the area round. It's crazy to think how dangerous 6A is. If you actually, even in Division 1 or Division 2, win a softball championship in 6A, you will be known as, definitely, even baseball, same deal. You will really, really be looked at differently as a program. And that's the truth, in my eyes. That's why when Wesco High School won that state title, that was massive, and they were looked at differently. But that was right before divisions came into play. But this even makes it harder, because this Division 1, it does not look fun in the slightest. And that's just, of course, one part of 6A. In 32 6A, Brownsville Veterans Memorial, very quickly. Well, quickly, of course, look back at here. Looks like they actually do not have the games, but either way, Veterans Memorial will be playing against Edinburgh High School. That's a bit of a rematch, not necessarily for softball, but this is a rematch just due to one fact. Both teams played against each other in football, and Edinburgh High School took care of business at Edinburgh. So Brownsville Veterans Memorial will be looking, of course, to move on to that second round, in area round, if possible. It's officially 3 p.m. here, so you know what that means. Time to wrap up this show. It's been a good one. I enjoyed talking about sports. Hopefully we can next week get on a special guest here soon. But I've been Jacob Young. This has been a Rio Sports Live presentation, and until next time, we will see you all very soon. Take care.